Before we start drawing, I just want to, like I explained in one of our chats in the group, I just want to show you how I make my masking tape or paper tape less sticky. I just stick it first to my table several times. When I feel that it's not as sticky as it should be, then I use it to basically mask or tape the area that I don't want my drawings to show. So here I want to use the other parts of the book, so I just want to use the small section to show us what I want to draw. So that's why I'm doing this. You can also use this trick for when you want to create borders. So you can do that with the masking tape. However, if you're going to be cutting out the masking tape, you don't need to. Anyway, this is just me free sketching or freehand sketching to get my outlines, the lip outlines out before I can start shading. Alright, so quick intro to the tools I'll be using. This is my charcoal pencil. Forgotten the name of that charcoal pencil. I've had it for a long time, but I'll be using it today. And that's a graphite pencil, but in 10B. My charcoal blocks in medium and soft. I would also be using my blending stump to blend in some areas, but really, and a few of my charcoal graphite pencils. So I'll be using these 3 grades, and these are the brushes I'll be using. Since I'm working with a very small area, that's why I chose small brushes, so I'll most likely be using these brushes as well. And of course my sandpaper to get my charcoal blocks. So one area is going to be for the medium, the other area is going to be for the softs. Yeah, so let's put all of this aside and get to work. Okay, so I'm going to be using my blending stump to just make my outline a little bit darker. I find that using blending stumps makes that outline soft, and when you're blending, you tend to easily blend in, unlike when you use pencil directly. So just to make it as soft as possible, so that when blending, I'm not seeing so much of harsh lines. Once that is done, shading starts. I'm going to be using this charcoal pencil to first of all work with my darkest values. If we look at the photo, we can see some of the areas that are the darkest values. So I'll be going over those areas. While I'm working over my darkest values, another thing that I do is to put a few outlines, especially details. Now, if you look at the lip, you can see some very small faded in details of the wrinkles of the lip. So that's basically what I'm putting here. This is just a guide so that when I shade in or blend in, I don't lose those marks. So that's basically what I'm doing here before I continue shading. I'm also going to be using my 6B to give a few outlines as well, or wrinkle lines of the lip that is not so visible. Yes, when you shade, it might disappear, but for me, most of the time I tend to still see it. It just gives me a guide, basically. I am basically just picking the darkest areas or the darkest values to shade. Still targeting my darkest areas. This is something I always like to do first. I work with my darkest areas, the darkest values, the darkest tones first. We all know that the beauty of shading and blending or getting realism is layering. So you can see that I'm using another grade. That's the soft grade of charcoal block anyway, that I made into a powder to layer the lip to still get my darkest value. So that's satisfactory enough. So here I am blending. So this is where the real work starts. Blending is still for our tonal. We remember the chart and the lesson I did on tonal values. Now your tonal values or your tones is the transition between your lightest and your darkest, or between your dark and your light. So it's very important that we don't see harsh lines or that transition, that difference. It's very important that we don't see it. So you have to blend in. Now, to fill in that white part, because I really don't want us to see a lot of white parts, I'm using graphite pencil. I think that's a 6B to shade in. Now, note, shading, it will be best to use a very, very soft hand to shade. Don't press your hand too hard. This is just to make sure that we don't see that white background. Do you understand? And I will be blending with a tissue. I find it easier and I get a smoother blend when I use tissue paper to blend my graphite, not my charcoal. Now my charcoal, I always prefer to use brush, but my graphite, I prefer to use tissue. So here with my graphite pencil, I am still putting in a bit of the outlines as well. Now, if you're looking at the original picture, we can see these outlines. They're very small, but we can see that. So I blended in a bit more, and then I start to shade inside, just to cover out a bit of that white paper, that white background. After layering a bit more, going into the to the surrounding of the lip. That's the other part. Now this part is dark. My charcoal powder and a brush might not give me the very darkest value. If you remember, when I started to shade, I used my pencil directly, my charcoal pencil directly on the lip, that's by the teeth area, because right now we can see that that's like the darkest value. So but now that I want to get a little bit more dark values, I'm using my charcoal pencil to shade in. So I'm basically just going to blend, layer, and outline where necessary, and also still look out for where I have my darkest shade, my darkest tone, or my darkest value, and fill that in. Okay, so watch closely. What I'm doing here is basically another technique that I use in shading. Now, if you look it up, this is called the contour technique. The contour technique is basically when you just take the shape of whatever object or subject that you're drawing, and you use that to blend or shade in. Now, I'm just going to lightly blend this because I want those lines that I created with my charcoal to show. This way it gives a more realistic look of the lip. Do you understand now? So I just used my charcoal powder and a small brush to just create those lines. I'm not going to blend that in too much because I want those lines to be pronounced, to be seen. Some people may use pencil, but pencil will not give you a soft feel. Some may use what's it called, blending stump to apply that, but I personally prefer the brush because, like I said, I want a softer feel to it. So if you watched my live the other time that I did a live on TikTok, you would notice that I don't highlight until I have gotten all of my values. So basically that's what I'm going to be doing to the end of this video right now. All I just want to make sure is that my values are all in place, everything is well blended in, there's good transitioning, no harsh lines, my outlines are out, and I have a very good base for me to start putting my highlights. So yeah, this will be the end of this video. In our next lesson, I'll be showing us how I put my highlights and of course put the other detailing on the lip. Thank you so much guys for watching. If you have any question, please ask on the group. I will surely answer, or you can also drop a message here. It's fine, I'll see it and I'll answer. Thank you so much guys. See you later.